The rain fell in heavy sheets. It drummed on the roof with a relentless rhythm. Lightning split the sky, illuminating the small house for a brief, blinding instant. Sarah sat alone in the living room. The fire in the hearth had almost died, leaving only a pale glow. The shadows in the corners of the room seemed to twitch with life. She wrapped her arms around herself, feeling the chill creeping through the walls. A sudden gust of wind rattled the windows. The sound made her heart jump. Then she heard it, a soft, deliberate knock at the back door. Her first thought was the wind. Her second thought was that it could be someone seeking shelter. She stood slowly, her bare feet cold against the wooden floor. The knock came again, more insistent this time. Her pulse quickened. She approached the back door. The rain made the glass streak with water, distorting the dim light outside. She reached for the handle. A shiver ran down her spine as her hand met the cold metal. The knocking stopped. A silence fell, thick and heavy, pressing against her ears. Then a whisper of movement outside. Footsteps on the wet stone patio. She leaned closer to the glass. Her reflection stared back at her, pale and wide-eyed. Then she saw it, a shadow shifting just beyond the glass. Not a human shape, exactly, but something that moved with intent. She took a step back. Her breath caught in her throat. The handle turned slowly. She had not touched it. Rain splashed against the door as it creaked open. A cold gust of wind surged into the room. It carried with it a smell. Rotten earth, wet leaves, and something metallic. The shadow slipped inside. The fire flickered violently. Sarah backed away toward the stairs. The shadow followed, silent, gliding across the floor. She stumbled over a chair, the wood scraping loudly. The shadow paused. It seemed to watch her, patient and knowing. She ran up the stairs, heart hammering in her chest. Every step felt heavier than the last. She reached her bedroom and slammed the door shut. The doorknob rattled. The sound made her ears ring. She pressed her back against the door. The shadow spoke, not in words, but a sound that scraped against her mind. A memory she had buried. A name she had tried to forget. Her own name whispered back to her. The memory of that night. The back door. The rain. The accident. She had locked it in her mind. Now it was awake, knocking, calling, demanding to be remembered. The bedroom window rattled. Lightning illuminated the shadow, and for a moment, it looked human. Then the light went out. The whispering grew louder, surrounding her. The rain outside became a roar, drowning her thoughts. Her pulse thundered. The shadow pressed against the door. Not pushing, but waiting. She knew it was only a matter of time. The memories surged, unstoppable, washing over her like the flood outside. Her own hands reached for the doorknob. A memory she had tried to bury returned fully. The back door. The night she locked it. The figure she had seen. The scream that had followed. She realized she had never truly closed it. The shadow pressed harder. The rain hammered the roof. Her mind trembled under the weight of what she had remembered. She understood now. Some doors, once opened, do not close easily. The memory of that night, buried beneath years of silence, demanded acknowledgement. It demanded confrontation. She inhaled, trembling. The shadow lingered at the threshold. The air in the room felt thick, almost liquid. She knew she had to face it, or it would consume her. Her fingers gripped the door, and the back door creaked fully open. A cold, wet hand reached in. Sarah screamed. The storm outside joined her scream. The shadows seemed to lean in closer, listening. The rain poured, and the back door waited, patient, for what she would do next. Sarah's scream echoed through the empty house. The storm outside drowned it almost instantly, but inside, it lingered, bouncing off the walls, pressing against her chest. The wet hand hovered just beyond the threshold. She could see nothing clearly, only a dark shape, trembling and shifting in the dim light of the dying fire. The air smelled of wet soil, decay, and something older, something she could not name. Her knees buckled, but she stayed upright, gripping the door as though her life depended on it. The shadow did not move. It watched her, patient, silent, and unyielding. Then, in a soundless motion, it stepped inside. The rain followed, dripping from its form, puddling on the wooden floorboards. Sarah's heart hammered against her ribs, every beat a deafening drum. Her mind raced, searching for reason, for explanation, for anything that could make this tangible, comprehensible. Nothing made sense. Nothing could. And then she remembered. The night she had tried to forget. The back door had not been just a door. It had been the boundary between safety and chaos. She had slammed it shut after the accident. She had never looked back. The shadow spoke again, not in words, but in memory, pressing visions into her mind, sharp as broken glass. Her parents' faces, twisted in horror. The scream of the man she thought she had saved. The rain that had soaked her clothes and hair, making her slip and stumble. The back door. It had been open, and she had let something in. Something that had waited all these years. She tried to run, but the shadow moved faster. Its presence filled the room, pressing cold air into her lungs. She could feel it in her bones, a freezing weight, a warning, a claim. The fire flickered and went out. The room fell into darkness. Her own breathing sounded like thunder. The shadow whispered again. This time she understood. It wanted acknowledgement. It wanted her to see. The memories came in waves, unstoppable, relentless. The scream she had tried to bury returned in full force. She remembered his eyes. The way he had looked at her, pleading, accusing, alive one moment, gone the next. And she remembered the back door, how it had been the last thing she had seen before everything fell apart. She realized she had never truly closed it, never truly locked it, and now it had returned to remind her. The shadow pressed against the doorframe, merging with the darkness. It was everywhere at once, in the corners, in the floorboards, in her mind. She stumbled backward, tripping over the rug, her palms scraping against the cold wood. The storm outside intensified. Rain slashed against the windows. Wind howled through the eaves. And still, the shadow lingered. It whispered again, and this time the words were clear. You cannot hide from the back door. Sarah screamed, a sound torn from her soul, raw and desperate. Her reflection in the glass of the broken window stared back at her. But it was not her reflection. It was him, the man from that night. His eyes hollow, yet filled with recognition. Her heart froze. She had imagined he was gone, that the memory had faded into nothing. But here he was. The back door had kept him waiting. The shadow took a step closer. Cold fingers brushed her cheek. She felt the wetness, the decay, the history pressing into her skin. Memories surged violently, each one sharper than the last. The rain became a torrent, hammering against the roof and walls, drowning reason. Her own voice trembled as she spoke aloud. I remember. The shadow froze. For the first time, it seemed uncertain. I remember everything. The whispering stopped. The wind stilled. Even the rain slowed, dripping lazily from the gutters. The shadow receded, pulling back into the darkness it had emerged from. But the air remained cold, heavy, lingering with the scent of wet earth and something metallic. Sarah collapsed to her knees, trembling. Tears mingled with rainwater dripping from her hair. The back door hung open, a dark void in the storm-lit night. She stared at it, unblinking, feeling the weight of years pressing down. Some doors, she realized, never close. Some memories never fade. And some things, once let in, wait for the exact moment they are remembered. The storm began to pass. Thunder rolled in the distance. Lightning illuminated the room one final time, showing only emptiness where the shadow had been. But the air remained thick with its presence, a reminder etched into every corner of her mind. She stood slowly, shivering, and closed the back door herself this time. The handle was icy cold. Her hands lingered on it for a long moment. And she knew that the back door would always remain a threshold between the present and the past. Between memory and reality. Between what she had buried and what had returned. She locked it, and then she left it alone, in the silence of the post-storm night. But deep inside, she understood. The back door never truly closes. It waits. Always. For the next knock. Days passed after the storm, but the house remained silent. Sunlight filtered through the curtains, soft and warm. Sarah moved through the rooms cautiously, each step measured. The back door stayed closed, locked, and unyielding. She felt the weight of the past, but it no longer pressed upon her with panic. Memories still lingered, but they no longer demanded her fear. She placed a hand on the doorknob, feeling the cold metal, and took a deep breath. For the first time, she understood that some doors cannot be erased, only acknowledged. She left the back door as it was, a quiet sentinel to the night she survived. Outside, the rain had stopped, leaving the garden glistening and fresh. And inside, Sarah finally allowed herself to move forward, carrying the memory without letting it control her. The storm had passed, but the back door remained, a reminder, a boundary, and a promise of vigilance.